I'm looking back on all of the ways, right, that I was naive. And one of the things that gave me hope in this election was the Kamala HQ on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's a lot of propaganda, but it's the first time I've seen a politician
Yeah.
really get engaged with social media like that, other than AOC, you know, on a slightly more minor scale. She does her live streams and she's on Instagram and stuff like that. But I'm hoping to see a lot more of that, because that was the going back to Joe Rogan, that was the mistake in not going on Joe Rogan, is that, yeah, there was a whole group of people watching Fox News who you're going to reach, but there's a whole group of people who aren't watching any news at all that you could have reached.
Yep.
And I think they need to start taking that really seriously if they want to energize Democratic voters to come out and vote. You know, there was a lot of talk about how down ballot was important, and I want to keep that energy moving forward.
With down ballot, this is important too. This is why I say I don't think there's anything that could have saved the campaign, honestly, because some of those down ballots were wild. Like, I saw one in Dearborn, Michigan. Rashida Tlaib won by like 24 in that district. Trump won by 7. There were people who went in and voted for Rashida Tlaib and then Donald Trump. Like, you saw this, like this happened with Ilhan Omar. It happened with AOC. Yeah, I mean, it happened all over the country. I saw this. So there's a famous video, I don't know if you guys saw from CNN, where it showed that they were clicking the screen and they showed that Harris didn't outperform Biden in a single county in the entire country. It turned out that map was inaccurate. He pressed the wrong button, but it was something like she outperformed him in like 8 counties or something in the entire country. It was still a blank map right there. So yeah, it's not like these people are irredeemable. They couldn't have been won. And I say this too because one of my favorite things to say on this channel or on my account is when people say that politics is a popularity contest, they're fucking right. I hate to say it. I wish people voted on policies and on issues. And you know it's not on policy because that famous chart they had where they just blind asked people policies, and like 90% of people agreed with Harris's policies and like 40% agreed with Trump's policies. And if it's just on policy, then Harris wins, but it's not. It's based on vibes, on gut feelings, it's on instinct, it's on intuition. And we got to realize that. Like, you got to, and we don't need to run Jon Stewart or anything, but you need to run somebody who connects the people on that kind of level. And the Republicans, as pernicious and as awful as they are, they do have people who connect with their base on that more visceral level, far more than we have.
I wanted to jump on that point with Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and AOC. The people. Maybe the take that like makes me want to fucking strangle someone the most right now, the wrong why Kamala lost take is, oh, well, America's just too fucking misogynist and racist to elect a black woman president. It's like, motherfucker. Look at those fucking districts that Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, they kicked Kamala's fucking ass. They won by massive margins. You can't tell me that these voters didn't vote for Kamala because she's a black woman, but voted for Ilhan Omar. That doesn't make sense. And it pisses me off so much because it's I don't know. I'm always the fucking like naive one. I always have more faith in fucking humanity than most. But like, no, that's not it. There's definitely fucking like internal biases that cause that, but that is not the reason she lost. That is at the very least an overcomable obstacle for the right fucking person if they do it right.
So
go ahead.
Yeah, what I would say is that we can cite it as one of the reasons because it's true that say like we're example with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar or whatever, the people that voted for her and then voted for Trump, that's a problem. The people who didn't vote at all, they could have stayed out because of the woman thing. We don't know. Well, we don't know for sure. But the way I look at this is there's if the sole reason, like if it's the difference between saying it's the reason and one of the reasons. Because if it's the reason, then what you got to say is, all right, once again, that's a step 1. If that's the reason, what is the step 2? The step 2 is never nominate a woman again. Because like that's what it is like. And if that's and now look, if you want to come out and say it, sure, all right, fine. But at least that's a step 2. I'm not interested in the step 1s. So, but if we're saying it's one of the reasons, because I don't think she could have won either way. I don't think Biden could have won either way. But you have to address all those problems and how to fix them. And that's how I would go on for that. Well, what do you think, Liz?
I definitely think there's a racism and a sexism component at large. I think a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the biases that were at play as to why they rode so hard against her. I think this was a campaign that was set up for failure. I think Biden ran promising that he wasn't going to run for a second term, and then he did it anyway.
Yep.
We should have had a primary. And I think people put a lot on her in a way that is unprecedented for a vice president, for anyone running for that office. This is the most qualified candidate that we've ever had. I think it's a little bit naive to say that sexism and racism didn't play a role here. I mean, there were very prominent leftists on the internet just hurling slurs at her, you know, like it was an intensely vitriolic campaign. And now granted, I was 8 when Obama first ran. So it was very possible I was blinded to it, and it was similar then. But I don't know. I'm already seeing, you know, Democrats leaning into abandoning women for the sake of winning more votes. You know, it I don't know. I definitely think it is part of it. Now, were there ways that she could have ran this campaign better? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, see, well, Liz, that's just saying, like, that's my fear, because like if the solution or if the postulation is the women can't win, the only answer is don't run women again, and I don't agree with that.
They're already saying that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, and so that's why I can't accept that it's now. Once again, I'm not saying it's not the issue.
Accept it, right? But the solution is to confront it, to acknowledge it, and confront it. Because if you keep putting up women candidates and they keep losing, because we live in a society that just doesn't really respect women, and a lot of people are like, I mean, I like women, I just don't think a woman could be in charge of things, and nobody questions that ever. Like,
one of the best quotes I saw from this, well, best or worst, however you want to put it, was that I knew that millions of men hated women, but turns out millions of women hate women too. And that's one of the the most powerful quotes I saw about this, because we've seen the numbers. Like, so like white women, the white women stats that come out every election year. White women voted for Hillary Clinton at 49%. And, I'm sorry, they voted for Trump at 49% and Hillary Clinton at 47%. And then in 2020, they voted for Trump at 52%. He gained 3 points. And then this time it was Trump at 53%. It's been pretty consistent the entire time, and that's staggering. And I'm not trying to start a war or anything here, but it's like, I just remember everyone saying that black men were going to abandon her. It didn't happen. It didn't happen, it turns out. But and that's what Liz, I'm saying, I agree, is that there's 2 paths you can take. Was like, hey, what can we do to address this fact, or do we just abandon it altogether? And that's all I want people to say, is to focus on the solution, not I want something prescriptive, not descriptive. What do you think, John?
I want to clarify what I said, because like I'm definitely not saying that there isn't sexism and racial bias, and they do play a factor. The thing that pisses me off is when people say she could have never won because America is too sexist and racist, because I think that's bullshit. There are female leaders of other countries that are just as fucking sexist as we are. It's not like it's some glass ceiling that has never been broken. It's never been broken here.
Whoa. I was gonna say, kind of.
I don't think that we are more sexist than any nation that has had female leaders. I think that sexism is pretty rampant across the fucking globe. I don't think we are particularly sexist in this country, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But I do think that a woman can win, and I don't think it's a massive fucking detriment. In fact, I would say that being a woman is less of a detriment than Donald Trump's age here. Like, I would genuinely maybe I'm wrong. Again, maybe I'm putting too much faith in the American people. But I want to bring up Mark's question here. because that's a very important question.
No.
And
No.
it's directly related to what we're talking about.
Oh no.
Serious question. Do you think Biden feels vindicated? And honestly, do you think Kamala was a good candidate? Liz said it earlier. I'm not going to steal her thunder, but she said it earlier, and I'll repeat it here. Biden should have never fucking ran. Like that was the problem. It wasn't so much was Kamala a good candidate or was it not. By the time Biden dropped out, Kamala was the only option. And I said if he dropped out immediately after the debate, I would have wanted a primary. But he dragged his feet for a fucking month, and we ended up with Kamala. And Kamala, I'll give her credit, was way better than I expected.
Yep.
I've fucking criticized her campaign severely. I think there was a lot she could have done differently. I think her decision to run as Biden 2.0, and I said this before the fucking election, was a devastating mistake that cost her the election. I think if she had just taken it and ran and been her own candidate, we might have seen a different result. But just Biden 2.0 was never going to win this election. It wasn't going to win the election when Biden was in the race. It wasn't going to win the election with Kamala in the race. It wouldn't have won the election with Jesus Christ himself in the race. People didn't like Biden, and just saying more of that was never going to win this.
Yeah.
I think Kamala did way better than she did in 2020 in terms of being a candidate and being a politician that speaks to the people. But it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough to overcome that massive fucking difference. And that is kind of my opinion on her as a candidate. I think she's fucked now.
Yep, that's it.
I think she's poisoned now. She'll run again in 2028, but I don't think she'll win the primary. And I think that's kind of just the end of her story. What do you think, Liz?
We'll see. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I'm at this point where I don't necessarily want to make too many predictions about
good call.
Portion of the future. Yeah, in 2028, well, we'll see who runs, but and I don't know. We'll see how this goes too. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought completely.
Was Biden vindicated, and was Harris a good candidate?
Man, I thought for what she had and what she was given, she was a great candidate. Again, I do think that there are things that she could have done differently. Namely around the way that she advertised the campaign, the way that she addressed, ordinary everyday people. I think a big problem with the Democratic Party is the bit of elitism. You've got these people like Nancy Pelosi, like Joe Biden, who are just entrenched and have been there for so long that need to get out. And so there were a lot of moves that she made that I was seeing be widely criticized, and I was also but that I thought might help her do better, genuinely, just because of how but looking back on it, it's just the Democratic Party setup, right? Like, she was catering to the way that things used to be, the way the Democratic Party has been rolling for too long now. So I don't know. I'm hoping that they do change and that it's a strong change.
Yeah.
Oh, does Biden feel vindicated? Man, I don't know.
No,
does he know that they lost?
Yeah,
Liz?
I
don't. I don't know. I can't tell you what Biden feels. I can talk about what his team feels. That can have coherent thought. I have no idea if Biden knows what day of the week it is. So that's
Liz, I got to tell you. So I sent Liz a message asking him like, oh no, she asked me what time the show was, and so I said it was 6:35 Eastern Standard Time, and she asked me, hey, what are the topics for the show? I said, well, usually John and I have a list of, she said, what are the topics of the show? Or is it going to be about, jester? She's like jestering around the room. Like, it's about everything going on. I was like, yeah, it's going to be a jester wildly around the room shit. And that face you gave when we asked, does Biden feel vindicated? You're like, what? Because that's the same thought I had. Because all right, does Biden feel vindicated? I have no fucking idea. He should not. He shouldn't. Okay, let's be real. He should not.
He should feel very bad about himself.
He should feel terrible.
He lost this. His decision to stay in was the number one thing that caused him to lose.
You mentioned earlier. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say, John, you mentioned earlier there being a glass ceiling and you think that women can't break it. But I don't know if, what is it called? The glass cliff or the glass escalator? It's a phenomenon where when something is failing, a business, a political movement, they'll put a woman in charge so that when it crumbles, they can say, look at the female leadership, look how they messed us up. But it's an intentional move, and it felt like Biden pushed her into that role, right? And now these failures that are significantly on Biden, and even in the last 3 months, they've been on her. They've been on the vice president. His failures while in office.
Yeah. It's like it is hard to actually explain how badly the Democrats and Biden sees the president. Listen, honestly, going back before Biden, the choice to consolidate the party around Joe Biden in 2020 has just like the ramifications of this are just that will never end. The fact that we could have had Sanders and instead they decided, nope, Barack Obama. You know what? Barack Obama is actually responsible for all of this. Barack Obama shitting on Trump at that party made Trump run for president. Trump ended up winning. Then Trump ran against. Now, I think Biden would have crushed Donald Trump in 2016, but Obama said, we're going with Hillary Clinton, and she lost. And then it came down between Sanders and Biden, and Obama stepped in and said, we're going with Biden. And then I don't think like Biden collapsing at the debate. I think that was fucked either way. Obama came in and said, well, let's go with Harris now. And so every decision Obama has made since leaving office, he's like, Obama is like when you
Jordan.
Yes, exactly. Obama is like a star athlete. PJ. He is the star athlete who retires and then goes into general management and fucks up the entire team. That is what Barack Obama has done.
Because he's like, why can't they just do what I did?
Yeah,
why do they suck? Why aren't they just the greatest to ever do it? Like,
you take the ball, you put it in the hoop, you shoot 50% from the field, have 31 points. What's going on here? That's what I would Barack Obama. But yeah, so the question, does Biden feel vindicated? I don't know. Biden's brain is banana pudding at this point. Who knows if he feels vindicated or not? But he should not, because this, recently has rested upon him. He did campaign saying, it'd be pretty great. I'm pretty old. If I could just, shepherd us through this, be the one guy to defeat Trump and then train someone else to take my place. Didn't happen. And he put someone else through. And was Harris a bad candidate? I agree 1,000% with, I'm pretty sure both of you said that given what she had to work with, she did a pretty good job. I have a lot of complaints about Harris's campaign. Now, like we said, catering to the centrists, fighting like hell for those Republican votes that we're never going to vote for you in a billion years. Locking Tim Walz in a cabinet after his first couple of weeks in which he was just lighting shit on fire and setting the stage on fire. That was a mistake. But I can't sit up here and say she ran a bad campaign. Like, it was an imperfect campaign, but every campaign is an imperfect campaign, especially in hindsight. Like, if Harris won, it'd be like, this is the greatest campaign in history. But since she lost, like, oh, look at all these mistakes and everything. Given what she had to work with, she can't overcome being Biden's VP when Biden was suffering from a lot of unpopular sentiment. And the main thrust of the show, she can't overcome the structural problems with the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party, you both have talked about this. So when John, you mentioned the famous Chuck Schumer quote about losing blue collar workers and getting suburb people, and Liz talking about the snooty, know-it-all academic nature of the left in general. You can blame me for a chunk of that, but that's just how the left is and everything. And we need to find a way. It is quickly split into not just a rural urban divide, but a college educated and non-college educated divide. Like, the Democratic Party is set up to appeal to people like me. College educated professionals. They speak the language of college educated professionals. They walk and talk and act. They have the same concerns as them. And there's nothing wrong with that itself, but that's only like 30% of the country. Okay. We talk about how Trump, for example, Trump doesn't, I have this thing I always say about Trump is that Trump is genuine, and people confuse being genuine with being honest. It's not the same. Trump is not honest. He doesn't have an honest bone in his body, but he is genuine. And what I mean by that is that when you see Donald Trump talk on stage, he speaks in one way. If you saw Donald Trump talk with his friends, he would speak the exact fucking way. There would be no difference at all. It's hard to say that about other politicians. Most politicians get off stage and they turn to these robots. And like, so if you had a friend that talked like that, you'd be like, what's up with this dude? Why is he doing that? This is creeping me out. And people get that vibe from a lot of politicians. So it's easy to trick people into say, oh, he's acting genuine, so he must be honest. And people kind of rolling with that. You've got to find a way to get around that. Just, you don't got to change what you're saying. You got to change how you're saying it if you want to get more people to vote for you.
I think that brings us to a really good question here, TJ. We've talked about how the Democratic Party needs to change. And we've mentioned a couple things. But what are the specific, we're doing the autopsy here. What are the things that need to be removed? Because I 100%, 1,000, and this is something I said before the election. Again, I hate how much I'm saying, oh, I was right about this before the election, because I really don't want to be right about the things I said about the Republicans before the election, but I've been right about everything I said about the Democrats. And it is 100% true that they need to be authentic. The people don't care about what Trump says. They care that he means it. And there isn't a single politician on the left besides Bernie Sanders and AOC and the squad, essentially, that actually you feel like when they're talking, they believe the words that they're saying. Everything that most Democratic politicians say sounds like it's coming from a fucking focus group.
Yes.
And Americans know what that sounds like. They can smell it from a mile away. Anytime a message comes through that was put through a corporate fucking focus group, we can all tell because we're inundated with it in advertising every goddamn day. We can tell. And all they need to do is just get up there. I swear, politicians, it's going to be more fun for you. You're going to have more fun doing this. It's going to feel like you are actually fighting for what you believe, because that's what people want you to fucking do. They don't want you to try and change what you're saying to fit what they want to hear. They want leadership. People, I'm sorry to say this, most people just want something to follow. They don't look. We've said this before, like so much. It's not policy. They're not like, oh, I want my politicians to support this policy. They want to support a politician who tells them what policy is good. And that is what Democrats need to do. And for so long, they've just been trying to say what they think people want to hear. But what people want to hear is what they have to say. And they've got it completely backwards. Liz, what do you think about that? And are there any other, autopsy things we need to remove out of the fucking Republican Party? There's a lot of things we need to remove out of the Republican Party. What do we need to remove out of the Democrat Party?
Yeah, no, I'm very inclined to agree with you there. I think that there's a lot of things that need to change, especially structurally. If Biden could and would do more things while he's in office, such as expand SCOTUS, would be great, right? But in terms of cleaning house for the Democratic Party themselves, I think a lot of people need to refocus and reevaluate the way that they talk to their constituents, because people don't like to feel stupid or condescended to. And I don't say this to be mean, but when you have, the majority of America at a 5th grade reading level, a 5th grade literacy level, nobody wants to feel like they're too stupid to be a part of the group. And so, people want that authenticity that not a lot of Democratic politicians can seem to offer. But people also, they want it to be given to them in a way that's comprehensive, that could be comprehensive to your average 5th grader. And I'm going to butcher the Einstein quote, but what did he say about true understanding of a concept is if you can explain it to a child? And, I think a lot of people, they learn the big fancy words and then they roll with them without a true understanding of what they mean. There are a lot of people who have this base level knowledge and it seems like they're an intellectual because of the things that they say, but the way that they move, it is just exclusionary because we don't do a good job of explaining these concepts to people. And a lot of people in the Democratic Party are guilty of that too. There's this sort of, it seems like, entrenched belief that you have to be XYZ to be a politician, including be chivalrous. And I think that Donald Trump has proved that doesn't need to be the norm anymore. And we shouldn't let that be our norm anymore either.
Liz, I almost stood up and applauded. One of my favorite things to say when someone's like, when I'm cruel and when I just, dress down these conservatives and give them a taste of their own medicine, and they're like, oh, so much for the tolerant left. No, this is the intolerant left. Fuck you. Like I am intolerant of any number of things, like racism, sexism, homophobia, bigotry, trans. No, I'm not tolerating that. This whole idea that the tolerant left, that you tolerate everything. No human being on earth has ever tolerated everything. It doesn't make sense. And so I love standing on this because, like, even Tennessee Brando, I talked to him today, and he was saying how much it bothers him that Harris has to call and concede to Donald Trump, and that she's gonna and her and Biden are gonna be there for the inauguration. That I don't believe in gods or religion or an afterlife or anything, but at times like these, it does bother me that Donald Trump is gonna die a fucking winner. That really upsets me that he gets to break all the rules. He gets to get away with 91 felonies. He gets to spend 4 years crying like a baby, and he fucking won. And that it's like, folks, sometimes the bad guys win. Sometimes it happens, and that's why I've lost all patience for this decorum nonsense. No, you guys lost that. It's over. Like, we're not going to fight this asymmetrical war where you can do whatever you want when you can just come in throwing literal shit around and expect us to fall in line with this. And stuff that Biden can do. One thing that I wish, I've been complaining about Biden not doing this for ever since he got in office, was Donald Trump is a born marketer. Donald Trump knows how to get his name out there and how to get his accomplishments seared into the brains of hundreds of millions of people. Whenever the stock market went up, Trump was in front of a camera. Whenever unemployment fell by a quarter point, Trump was in front of a camera. And to the extent that if you asked your average American, hey, when was the stock market at its highest? Or when was black unemployment at its lowest? They would say Donald Trump, because he said it even though it's Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden had the highest stock market, even though black unemployment was lowest under Joe Biden, he was never talking about it. He never held press conferences about it. And I made plenty of videos about this, and I got so many comments over the years of folks saying, well, Biden knows that those metrics are misleading and he's not going to, misguide the American people. Fuck you. What good did it do him? Like, what good does it do to have this stuff if people don't know about it? Getting rid of the filibuster is obviously something that should have been done a long time ago. And look, I know people are going to say, well, they didn't have the 51 votes because of Manchin and Sinema. You were the president of the United States. You can make it happen. Twist some arms, do whatever you have to do, threaten them, play dirty. I don't care. Get it done. And because they're going to say, well, this isn't Biden's fault. No, it is, because if it passed, guess what? You'd be saying, look at the great job Biden did. Isn't it great that he got this done? But if it doesn't pass, it's magically not his fault. Like, the buck doesn't stop with Kirsten Sinema. Okay, the buck stops with the president of the United States. And Liz, you said something about how the average American reads at like a 5th grade level or something. John, I don't know if you were on the show. It was either you or Desmond. I can't remember. Erica was definitely there. One of my favorite moments from the show is like before I was even a host, was when Leah was on. And she mentioned that the American literacy rate was like 75%. And were you on that show, John? I don't know if you're there.
I'm remembering this, so I think I was.
Yeah, and none of us believed it. We looked it up. The American literacy rate is like somewhere in the 70s. I was shocked that it was that low. That so many Americans.
It wasn't literacy. It was like 8th grade reading level.
No, it was literacy. It was definitely
literacy. Is it so low that like I did look it up and then I immediately just forgot about it because it couldn't be true?
Oh yeah, maybe it was that. Maybe I'll have to find the clip. I can play it on the show or something like that. But that did shock me, and it ties into
literacy rate in the United States is 79% for adults. Oh my god,
79%. Yeah, it's crazy, right? And so with the 3rd grade thing, this is something that I say all the time. That Einstein quote where you said that the true test of intelligence is, can you convey this information effectively to a 3rd grader? Now, this isn't bragging about my intelligence or anything. That's not what I mean. But I am a good communicator. Okay, I'm fucking fantastic at it. I'm a rock star when it comes to this shit. And I use that example all the time because when something that's always bugged me is teacher speak. I can't stand it. Ever since I was a kid, and you have teachers and they come up from the class and they say, we're going to do this. It sounds condescending. Like, they're doing it to like 11th graders. And so I couldn't wait to test this. When I started substitute teaching and I started with small children, I taught Sunday school classes. I talk to them the exact same way I talk to everybody. The same way I talk to you, the same way I talk to a fifth grader. The only difference is I'm not going to swear in front of the fifth graders, and I may tell a few more jokes, but that's it. Because like, John, you've heard me say this before, that one of my favorite things I ever read was something written by Christopher Hitchens. He used to write for The Nation magazine. And he said what he tries to do in his articles and his speeches is write them as if he is talking to his funniest and most intelligent friend, because people love to think they're funny and people love to think they're intelligent. So if you treat them like that, they're going to appreciate it. And if you know how to properly communicate, you can use big words if you want to, but guess what? People are like, our brains are pattern recognizing machines. Like if you use the word, I don't know, like ostentatious or something, a word that everyone may or may not know. If you surround it and put it in context, say, yeah, he wore this like flashy gold ring. It was pretty ostentatious. They'll figure out what ostentatious means. Like you can just trust people no matter what age they are. And that's it. You don't have to change your like what you're saying at all, but you do have to change how you're saying it to the way that is actually acceptable and appreciated by people when they hear it. I couldn't agree more.
It's so that is something, first of all, again, non-political thing. We're just in fucking lockstep with it. This is something I learned as like a teenager, like working with kids, is that, oh, if I just like talk to the little kids as if they're not little kids,
yes,
they fucking
yes,
love it.
They love it.
They love me. And it was just like, everyone's like, wow, you're so good with children. How do you do it? And I'm like, it's the easiest thing in the world. You just talk to them like they're adults. It's very simple. And that's still true at my age now. It's still true when in my content. Like that is the entire guiding North Star of my content, is that I want to take these complicated concepts like fucking, open borders, universal basic income, all these things, and explain them in a way that everyone can understand, using terminology that everyone gets. It honestly personally upsets me when I'm reading about and I'm doing my research and the wording is so needlessly academic.
Oh God.
Because I'm just like, you are trying to make yourself sound smarter at the expense of achieving your goal of communicating this information. It is the dumb thing to do to make yourself sound smart. And yeah, but that is, to apply that back to the Democratic Party, that is what they need to do. They need to be authentic. They need to talk to people, not like they're talking down to them, but like they're having a normal fucking conversation with them. I can't tell you, my favorite comment that I get, I've always said this, is, hey, I don't always agree with what you have to say, but I appreciate and respect the way you say it. I get that comment all the time, and it is my goal to get that comment. And it means that they are going to actually listen to the words that I'm saying. Thank you. You have made it to the end of this episode. We thank you very, very much. And if you donated any money to those loser fucking Democrats, well, you know a better place to put it. Give it to people like us. We're totally unbiased in saying that that is the way we are going to win in 2028. Anyway, we always have wonderful guests on this show. Liz has been a repeat guest. She has told you guys where to find her before, but if you haven't watched those episodes, Liz, where can people find you?
You can find me on all the platforms at Allboutliz. That's ALLBOUTLIZ. Not Allboutliz. That's my favorite tag from the gaming days.
Love it so much. Thank you, folks. We really appreciate Liz. Really appreciate all you guys watching. And like John said, I mean, Mark Cuban, George Soros, DCCC, anybody. So send the cash our way. We will make better use of it than anyone else you did in the past. And we'll see what we can do. Catch you guys later.